we are now on the fourth award, which is Here Comes the Girls, sponsored by Cheshire Life magazine. Would Kate Blakemore, Dr. Ruth Oshikanlu, and Sharon Amasu of She Leads for Legacy come up to the stage, please? So we're going to start with Kate. Kate, your organisation, Her Place Charitable Trust, helps women facing trauma, inequality or complex challenges to access support, resources and community and to give them a voice. What was the catalyst for the trust? What made you start it?
So I founded it 11 years ago, and we were called Motherwell Cheshire at the time, so I wanted to address the inequalities for mums at the time. I always say it's the hardest job I ever have done and continue to do so being a mum. So I wanted to, offer the support that we could because I recognised a big gap. So we were 10 years last March, but we recognised that we were very much a women and girls charity now. So we changed our name to Her Place Charitable Trust. But I think I just get stressed when there's inequalities, really. So we've got quite a few with the word her in everything. So we do Flourish Her, which is women's health and addressing inequalities. But I think Her Place as well, we do direct services. We've got 3 community hubs. And then I think Her Place for me was about amplifying voices of women as well, because we need to shape the services to fit the women that are there to serve. And I think time and time again that gets wrong.
How do you actually do that? So what are the kind of practical day-to-day things that you do?
So in terms of the charity, we deliver counselling, we have a baby bank. Like an example, tomorrow we give out prom dresses, which I've missed an opportunity here to get some dresses. But we put a really nice event on because we know that our girls perhaps won't be able to go and spend £400 with their parents, so we make sure it's a really nice event that they go to. We give out school uniforms, so we do a lot of practical things like that, right through to supporting mums who... The reason I founded the charity was to support mums at risk of child removal or who have had their children removed. So we support mums for 9 months on that journey. And then I guess from the campaigning point of view, we've just made a film around the injustices of family court. So there's kind of 2 things going on at all times, really. My role probably more is about the influence and change now, and the team is about delivering and continue delivering them services.
What are the main problems at the moment that your women are facing, your families are facing?
Not having the opportunity to be listened to properly. We do a lot of work with diverse communities, the world being blamed on them, the state of the world. And my big one, which I must say at every meeting I attend, that people do not understand what real poverty looks like and what the barriers that it brings. It's all strategies, but they all come up with elaborate ideas, but the reality is that the Lucy that spoke about women's health, and we provide period dignity products. That's the reality of poverty for a lot of families at the moment.
I'm going to ask you a bit of a personal type question, really. So I'm the editor of Cheshire Life magazine. We are seen as a kind of high-end magazine. Cheshire is seen as a county that's very privileged, but Cheshire has its own problems like every other county. Just tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I was just saying it to the lady on our table, actually. So, we Cheshire, but I live in Crewe. I've been brought up in Crewe. Crewe is a very, very deprived town, and that's what I wanted to set up a charity in deprived towns. So we have a hub there. In Cheshire, we've also got Winsford, which is where I'd spent most of my working life, so I wanted to offer support there, so we have a hub there as well. But, it is... People really, that saying is, heating and eating is reality,
Sure,
and people forget about that in some of our towns.
So tell us a story about someone you've helped recently that's given you kind of hope and what your kind of organisation is all about, really.
Yeah, so recently I've been quite, because I never wanted to be a CEO, never wanted to write funding bids or anything like that. I just want to be with the community. So recently I decided to go back to do some of that. So I facilitate a peer support group for women who have lost their children through cot death or miscarriage and things like that. And I just said, I've just got a nipper because I wanted a drink. And I put it on mute, and I heard two women say, that I look forward to this group every month, and it's changed my life. And it's like when you're looking for money every day, you need to hear things like that. To a crochet group that we just give the room to, a really light touch. And every week then women there, there's a lot of widowed, very, very lonely, and they just say, don't know what you do without us. So it doesn't always have to be high-end stuff. It's just about being there for people sometimes.
Fantastic. Thank you. Right, thanks, Kate. So, Dr. Ruth, nurse, midwife, health visitor, educator, mentor, and global advocate. Your bio kind of sums up what today's is all about and what inspiring women are all about. So for almost 3 decades, you've been kind of driven by deep commitment to social justice. You are a transformer of lives. We have only a few minutes to talk about your achievements and what you're doing. Can you give us a bit of a potted history of the kind of need and the achievements that you feel you've made?
Yes. So my story has been one of lived experience and then using clinical expertise, blending the two together. So in 1995, I remember my cousin at 28 weeks, we did a baby shower. By 32 weeks, she was dead. And that was the first time we realized that there was a disproportionate outcome for black women, that they died. Pregnancy, something happy, could lead to death. So it was one of the reasons I actually went into midwifery, because at the time I was a student nurse, and thought, I need to find out why. And as my colleague, I've forgotten your name, women are not listened to. So all this time she was saying, look, I'm not feeling well, but she looked well, and that's all they saw. So that has been driving me. So most of the things I try to address, I've had lived experience of. So I'm working globally, because I come from Nigeria. Sadly, we have the worst maternal outcomes. So there's no comparison. So here in the UK, we could say, black women have worse outcomes than white women. We're all black in Nigeria, so why are we having horrible outcomes? So that's what led me to doing global work. And who else has resolved these problems within the globe? So working with colleagues in Australia, in the States, here, and trying to improve outcomes there. But then the pandemic hit. And this was when I formed Abule in response to the inequities. People say inequalities, but we're not all starting from the same place. That's why I prefer the word inequities. And also, actually how it impacted on professionals. So within 6 weeks of the pandemic, I got COVID. And sadly, a lot of my colleagues, 2 of them died. Others are still living with consequences of that, including me. So by the November, I still wasn't getting better. It was then we were hearing this long COVID. Disproportionately, it affected nurses, especially those in the intersection of the menopause. And often it's so difficult to diagnose because they're mistaking it for menopause, or you got brain fog, you're feeling fatigued, or it must be the menopause. So that's one of the reasons I do what I do, supporting nurses who've actually been forced out of work. Sadly, our system is very cruel. So you get paid sick leave for so long. If you don't get better, sadly, you get forced down ill health, retirement. And being a nurse and a midwife and a health visitor is part of my identity. If somebody tells me I can't do this, I don't even know where I'll start. So it's supporting them. So I've had to plead with the Royal College of Nursing that, look, we need to get these people back at work in any way they can. So they're piloting where we've got the first 3 cohorts, and we're supporting them to remain in work. But as a nurse too and a midwife, we're not allowed to explore entrepreneurship. So this is one of the things I'm doing, to see entrepreneurship as a career pathway with a focus of reducing health inequalities. So we're developing the first cohort of nurse entrepreneurs who would be addressing those social issues, because often they know the populations they serve very well. but they're not allowed to do it within the constraints of the NHS. So it's what ideas do you have? How can we bring this to life, but for it to be funded? So that's just some of the work I do. But another thing I do too, again from lived experience, is the fear of pregnancy loss. So at 20 weeks, when I was pregnant, a routine scan, I never went home again. I was hospitalized for the rest of pregnancy for 5 months because it was a threatened miscarriage. So and the worst bit of that was I knew what was happening, and I had looked after other women like me, but didn't realize the impact it had. So all my physical needs were met, but nobody asked me how I was. So some of the research I'm doing is addressing this fear of pregnancy loss, because we don't even have data. We have data on miscarriages and pregnancy loss, but that fear we don't have data on. So we set up a national working group working with Baroness Amos to start defining what does this look like and start gathering data, but also what does this spectrum of fear of pregnancy loss, how does it show up? So doing some research on that. But by the time we finish that, we now start training midwives, GPs, everyone that comes into contact with these women to be able to address their needs.
So you've got 30 years of experience, 30 years of lived experience, personal experience of watching nursing and watching kind of women having babies. Have things improved? And if so, how have they improved?
Some things have improved, but some things it also feels like we've regressed because of the way the world is with money. So funding is stripped. The NHS, what it offers, we're offering less and less and less, expecting more and more and more. And it's also supporting professionals because a lot of us are burnt out. The systems we're working within, it's relentless. So it's supporting professionals as well. So outcomes have improved. We've got technology now to pick up things, but we've also lost some things, the personal feeling. You know, in the NHS, we're still having campaigns like "Hello, my name is." You know, people are looking after you and they're not even telling you who they are. So it's those kind of things that depersonalize care, that dehumanize people. You're almost seen as a bed number rather than being treated as a human. So we've also lost some things that we're having to remind ourselves to do.
So what's your message to the Health Secretary?
Well. I don't even know if we have a health secretary because he resigned last
Just got a new one,
yes. Yes. Well, it's to really listen to people and to build with. Sadly, a lot of the times when we have all this restructuring, it's people who they're so detached from the reality of professionals. If you ask professionals, they tell you what needs sorting. So just listen to professionals listen to those you serve, and then work with communities and use the expertise within to improve outcomes.
Thank you. Thank goodness for women like you. So, Sharon, you and your daughter, Afia, co-founded She Leads for Legacy, based here in Manchester, to fight for black female professionals to achieve senior roles and board-level roles. Can you tell me, first of all, personally, what you encountered when you started out in your career, and whether things had changed by the time your daughter had entered the profession as well?
Thank you very much. And can I just say that I'm speaking on behalf of my daughter, who's unable to be here today, but she's very much appreciative of this recognition. I was thinking about this and really my origin story into this, and it didn't just start with the immediate issue. I think about me growing up here in Manchester. And I grew up during the 1970s and during the 1980s, where for those who were around in that period, don't need to put your hand up, it will expose your age. But during that time, there was a lot of civil unrest, and we had the Moss Side riots, we had the Brixton riots, we had riots in Nottingham and so on. And it's because of the racial tensions that existed, and really at its heart, it was about opportunity being lost, it was about discrimination, it was around harassment. But specifically, there were issues for black students in the education system. And I saw my dad, who was a leader without title, so he was a titular leader, who recognized the discrimination, the issues that existed for young people, and he convened parents together to say, we need to address these issues, and we need to do that through collaboration and partnership. And so as a young person, I saw what can happen when a group of people who see an issue focus on not what they don't have, but what they have by way of agency, and they go together to address it. And so fast forward then, it was also, for me at that time, a realization that the criminal justice system and being a part of changing the sort of the negative outcomes for particular communities in the criminal justice system, when you were a part and you had a voice into that, you could effect change. So then fast forward to me practicing as a criminal barrister for 16 years and really wanting to be an advocate for change where there was such marginalization. When I entered the profession, well, let me give you this as an illustration. So my daughter is an employment law barrister herself. And when she was proceeding into the profession, she was applying for what's described as pupillage, which is what you undertake to train as a barrister. And when she was applying, only 2% of those who were provided training opportunities were from the black community, only 2%. And that was 20 odd years on. I don't tell you how many years that is, because I always call her my sister, and she rejects it outright. But that was just a matter of a few years ago. If you just track back 20 odd years, what those percentages were like then. And that wasn't about aspiration, it wasn't about ambition, it was very much about opportunity. And so even at that stage, there was frustration about the fact that I would enter into a robing room and there'd be only me who'd be like me, or when we were being socialized into the sector, then there'd be very few people who looked like me. And what that meant, the implications of that, and the importance of representation and visibility, not simply for it to be something that makes you feel good, but actually it meant something. It meant something to those whose lives we were making decisions about, but also for us in the profession. When Afia came into practice, we had conversations about the disparities and the similarities in our experiences. And what we saw was that the same problems existed. There were barriers to entry. There were opportunities that were missed. So we had conversations around that, and leaning back to what I mentioned earlier about my dad and seeing that where there is an issue, you use your voice to speak to those issues. So She Leads for Legacy came about because we wanted to be a positive force for change, and to do that not simply from the peripheries, but to do so, and this was really important to us, we recognized through our own journeys that it was actually allyship that helped to open doors and create opportunities. My very first training opportunity as a barrister, it was a barrister called Patrick Cassidy, who was at a set of chambers called Kenworthy's Chambers, and he was a white male barrister who saw potential and opened a door where there wasn't one. And so we knew that in this work of addressing inequality, addressing those disparities, we wanted to curate an environment where people who weren't necessarily impacted by an issue would feel that they had agency to be a part of effecting change. And so over the years, we've worked and collaborated with a range of organizations, whether it be Queen Bee Coaching. I don't know how many are familiar with Queen Bee, but they've been a partner of ours over the last few years, providing coaching, executive coaching opportunities. We've worked with the Northwest Business Leadership Team and the likes of Katie Bray over there, who's been an incredible ally for our work, and even our nominee, the incredible Claire Marie Borgiano, the loud woman in the red dress. But she has been just one of the most incredible allies for this movement. And so we are seeing incredible change, and we're excited by that, but there is so much more work to do.
We are going through another period of discrimination and unrest at the moment. It's almost as if things have regressed. How are you facing that? What are you having to change your thinking, change your methods, or are you kind of soldiering on as you were?
Thank you. I feel quite moved, actually, as you say that, because even this week, we were talking about the political fragmentation. Kirsty over there will recall our conversations around that, and just what that means, and the division that we're seeing, the dilution of social cohesion, which is so important for our society, and just understanding that for us to have a good society, it needs to be an inclusive society, and we need growth. True inclusive growth for this great region needs to incorporate all of those and really leverage the diverse talent that we have here. But we're seeing forces that are anti that agenda, and it is incredibly alarming. We're seeing marches taking place around the various cities around the country, our very own
in Manchester.
Absolutely, right here in Manchester. And it's very, I'm a mum of 3. I've got my eldest daughter and I've got 2 boys. And when I hear of the marches, I tell them, don't go into the city. Avoid the city altogether. And it's really concerning. And yet still, the mandate is for us not to allow those forces to drown out our voices, because we know. And so the response is keep marching. Several years ago, Afia, my daughter, she went to the US, yes, and she went to the US, and she was on a leadership program for young lawyers to understand more about their legal system. And she managed to visit a theatre, and she saw a play called Suffs. And Suffs was all about, effectively, the American version of the suffragette movement. And one of the songs that moved her so powerfully was Keep Marching. And there was a refrain in it, which was, even though our voices they may seek to quiet our voices, even though they may seek to suppress our ambition, we are going to keep marching. And what I have seen throughout history is that those whose voices remain and sustain, they do that in collaboration. It's through community, it's through allyship, and even beyond that, it's through advocacy. And so my response is, we keep marching.
And so, finally, Sharon, apart from standing as an MP, so what's your message for the women in this room who are from Manchester? Because Manchester currently is very much in the news.
So one of the most compelling things I feel that we have here, uniquely here in Manchester, is the history of movements. The history of the trade union movement, the cooperative movement, the suffragette movement. We are a people who see injustice and we stand up against it. It's within our DNA. And so what I say to all of us in this room and the people of this great region is, tune in to your DNA. We stand against injustice. It's who we are.
Brilliant. Thank you. Well, I am in the very privileged position to be announcing the winner of this category, and I have to say today is just incredible. I think every message we've heard from this stage today has been something we should all think about as we drive home today. So, this year's winner of this award is She Leads for Legacy.
I'm literally blown away. Is that Claire Marie? My kids would be very grateful for this moment because I'm silent. I don't know how many of us have heard the statement, which is, it takes a village. Anyone heard that? And it takes a village. I'm holding this. But I'm holding it, and there are so many other hands that are holding this. And anything that She Leads for Legacy has achieved, it's been through the community. And it's been as a result of the likes of the names that I've mentioned. You are such a key player to this moment. And so I just want to extend my thanks to you. My thanks to my partner in crime. She's absent right now, Afira Mesu, my daughter stroke sister. And I just want to say that it really is significant. I'm so moved, Jacqueline, wherever you are. I'm really grateful for this, because it just is, a validation of this work at such a poignant, pointed time in our history, not simply as a city, but as a nation. And when we're able to celebrate and recognize work that wants to do good and build social cohesion, then we're all the better for it. So thank you all.
Inspiring women, fill your glasses and take a long sip, because now you are all centre stage. Those of you who were here last year will remember going home with one song in your head. Anybody remember what it was? Give us a clue then. Sweet Dreams. And you'll definitely remember the absolute diva who got you all up and singing. So, by special request, making her Inspiring Women Awards come back, here is the very fabulous Kate Valentine.
Hello, everybody. Everyone looks so happy to see me. I'm very happy to see you. Wow, what an amazing day. My gosh, I'm a little bit speechless, but don't worry. Everything's going to be just fine. Because who was here last year? All the ones that are smiling have put their hands up. That's brilliant. Everyone else is like, what's this? Well, there's been a lot of talk about voice work and empowering voices today, and there's been a lot of talk about brilliant things happening together, people getting together. And a short introduction to me. I'm a nurse, and I stumbled into nurse entrepreneurship through my own lived experience of mental health, perinatal mental health issues as a mum. Long story cut short, as I ended up starting a movement, completely accidentally, of women that lead mums together in song. And that is not for performance, that's not for rehearsals, it's just for the moment, for feeling better, for feeling great, actually. And so that's happening. That's a really fast-growing movement, Singing Mamas. Some of you might have heard of it. And it's an absolute joy to be here, to bring to you a little taste of that, if you were interested. All right. So my work is definitely about reducing anxiety for mums when they've got perinatal mental health issues. But I know that when you bring the idea of singing together into a room, that can increase anxiety for people. So quick question, how many singers do we have in the room today? 4, 5, 6? 6. Do you know what? That's brilliant. That is brilliant. Because everyone is born to be a singer, and you might have been told that you weren't. Yeah, you might have been told it. We're going to prove that wrong today. And this is about just feeling good and creating something together in the moment. So can I get a little sound check? Can I get a na 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 na. Keep it going. Na 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 na. Keep that going. Right, you lot know exactly what to do. Are you ready? Here we go. Sweet dreams. Who am I to disagree? Travel the world and 7 seas. Everybody's looking for something. 30 seconds. Well done, everybody. Amazing.